Hello, I'm Eric, and this is my presentation on ikvm.net. Um, Now, the reason I chose to document this thing um, is because it's an environment which allows you to write in Java and have it convert just automatically to .NET. Um, Calco use Calco uses it, or Calco Java uses it to do just that. And it's sort of remarkable that it does this. I mean, especially yeah, considering how it's not very easy to do. Um, as to what it is and how it came to be, just a brief background to the source of this thing. Um, Once upon a time, there was a guy who wanted to use Java libraries in .NET, and then he made this thing. Um, yeah, acronyms. The interesting thing about the acronym for this is the IK doesn't actually stand for anything. It actually stands for J. So JVM, Java Virtual Machine .NET. How it works, the important stuff. It kind of runs by um, just exploiting the fact that Java runs inherently on a virtual machine. And so what was done was that instead of just trying to directly translate Java and the virtual machine into .NET languages, is that they just rebuilt Java in .NET, which is kind of cool because it basically has it's quite relevant to what we've learned about this here. Java, the the Java environment is sort of just the concrete syntax, while .NET is the underlying abstract syntax. Yeah. And this means you can do some pretty cool stuff. Just like if you just take any Java code and drop it in to IKVM, it will run, and it will run fine, which is really cool. And Java libraries, once they're compiled, they're usable in other .NET languages like C# and I think even Scheme. Yeah, those libraries, it's a bit more complicated in how they're able to be accessed, because it's not just because IKVM is more than just sort of an interpreter. So there's this program within IKVM called IKVMC, which sort of it translates the underlying Java bytecodes of the library files, and then it turns that into CIL, which is common intermediate syntax, or intermediate language for a bunch of other programming languages like C#, .NET Scheme, and because it does that at that low level, it becomes possible for a variety of languages to be able to use Java code when it was in Java libraries when doing so before was just not feasible. Yeah, so it's I kind of like to think of it sort of the IKVMC sort of as a parser. It's not at all, I know, but it just sort of helps me to think of it that way. sort of how you have the parser between the abstract and concrete syntax. You also sort of have the parser between Java and .NET. So yeah. Oh yeah, the slide's just about what I just said. Connects data to data at a much lower level than everything else that goes on, which is cool. IKVM, there are problems with it. It's not magic. It's not perfect. As well as it does work, there are issues, especially when you encounter things. Interestingly, it's the similarities that present the most problems rather than the differences. For example, both .NET and Java have strings, and if you want, and differentiating between using a .NET string and a Java string, it requires it can be a bit difficult because it has the Java files end up getting renamed, so it just gets really confusing and esoteric to me, but it just gets very difficult to try and access library files after they've been renamed. Yeah. Where's my notes? Shoot. Yeah, and so basically, I was very interested in learning about IKVM.net because it seemed to very much fit with what we've learned about levels of syntax this year and sort of how they all connect, and sort of how one can approach building a language. Because I mean, IKVM.net is its own language. I mean, yes, it's just Java, but they made Java from scratch using .NET, and because they did it that way, there's a whole wider range of compatibility that you didn't previously have. And I mean, and it helps me understand that there are situations where building a language does make some more sense than trying to figure out code to try and translate, I don't know, the concrete syntax of Java into the concrete syntax of C Sharp or .NET, and then because that would just be difficult, it would be inefficient. What IKVM does, it does well. It does impressively, and it does efficiently. It still remains a very powerful language with the utility of Java and .NET. So yeah, and yeah, it's nice because it lets you write in .NET and make applications and programs and things and just use Java to do it. So it's fun. Yeah, it sort of calls to what I think Calico does, in that they both try to promote interoperability between different languages, which I know is the big thing, one of the big things behind Calico, and which is also just the fundamental principle behind IKVM. So, yeah. Let's hope that that was enough time.